Hey guys, so welcome back to another episode. This one is going to be a bit of a short but fun story of a newly discovered 3D Sonic design. So before we get into this, I have to go over a bit of obscure video game history that most of you won't care about, but you need to know in order to understand this.
Why yes son, I do watch Atop the Fourth Wall, why did you ask?
Anyway, how many of you have heard of a company called Data Design Interactive? So Data Design Interactive, or DDI, are a very old video game company. They were making video games as far back as 1991 on 8-bit platforms, but rose to fame, or rather notoriety, in the mid to late 2000s when they started to make games for the Nintendo Wii. And they made a lot of games. They made so many video games that they became a bit of a meme in the Nintendo fandom. They were a shovelware company who literally re-released their own games just reskinned onto the console, and they did this at such a rate that at one point they had 40% of the Nintendo Wii's entire budget market in the European Union. Unfortunately, most of these games were outright terrible, and some of them were just PlayStation 2 titles which had poorly designed and poorly implemented motion controls, which made them near unplayable. The company is apparently still around, but trading under a new name, and most of their original staff have long since moved on. And despite promises to release content for the Nintendo Switch, it doesn't look like they've released much of anything in recent years, so I'm not too sure what's going on with them. Which brings us to where we are now. What tends to happen in situations like this is when a company closes down or a major change happens in terms of ownership, several assets and projects from the original company start to make their way into the public light. Which seems to be the case with this story. Video games preservation website Obscure Gamers recently posted a tweet saying that they had acquired 22 hard drives from Data Design Interactive. Unfortunately, some of these drives were damaged and required some very slow and very expensive data recovery processes to take place. But from what they have been able to recover from some of the hard drives so far have been really interesting, such as a 3D Zool game, an unreleased Wallace and Gromit karting game, a Nickelodeon party game, and it seems that they also had a title based on Casper the Friendly Ghost in production at some point. Oh, and they were also working on this project. Yes, it seems that DDI also had a Sonic project in the works, so this has never been seen before, and up until now, nobody knew that DDI were involved with a Sonic project. So far, 4 images of DDI's Sonic had been discovered, 2 of which show a standard T-pose model from the front and rear. So let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, this design does look a little bit odd, but remember, this was 3D art done in the 90s from a very low budget company. But I really like this design, it's got a strange sense of charm about it. I think part of the reason why I like this so much and why I find this particular model so charming is that everything about it screams, "I was made in the 90s. The lighting on it is completely inaccurate, it's not naturalistic at all, and the reflections are completely wrong to modern day standards. It's just there to provide some illumination and some highlights on the model itself. It unfortunately has a similar problem which was quite common with a lot of 3D artwork in the 90s era, mainly that 3D designs from this time tended to look a lot like clay model sculptures that had simply been scanned into a computer, as opposed to, say, an actual believable cartoon character. This unfortunately was quite a common problem for a lot of studios that were making 3D models and 3D characters to a budget, or that had access to very limited 3D creation tools. The end product tended to look very much like a clay model sculpture as opposed to an actual computer-generated character. But that said, I do like it, and I do find it really charming and somewhat nostalgic. It's clearly based on Classic Sonic, which shouldn't be too surprising given how this was made in 1998 prior to Sonic Adventure being released. But it's also a really accurate depiction of Sonic. Sonic's arms and legs have the right colouring, which is so often done incorrectly when a third-party studio takes on Sonic. In fact, the only mistake I can spot is that the shoes appear to be missing the yellow buckle. Other than some art style liberties, that's literally the only thing I could see which was wrong with the design. Some of you might now be thinking, Wow, so if that's what the model looks like, what does the game look like?
Well, slow down there.
It seems that this wasn't actually a video game project. Yeah, unlike the majority of this company's projects, DDI's Sonic wasn't part of a video game pitch. So what was it for? Well, according to the data that was on the hard drives, this Sonic design was actually made for Egmont Fleetway. Yes, Fleetway's Sonic the Comic. It seems that traces of an email were found on the hard drives, and they clearly show that the files were sent to someone at Egmont Fleetway on December 10th, 1998. Yes, amazingly, DDI's Sonic was rediscovered almost 21 years to the day that the file and the email was actually created. So was this design ever actually used in Sonic the Comic? Well, from what I can remember, no it wasn't. However, it's possible that it was used as reference material. During the release of Sonic 3D, Sonic the Comic did adapt a lot of the 3D imagery that was being used to promote that game for Sonic the Comic itself. Some of their designs and even cover artwork does depict the Sonic 3D promotional artwork and style, and when I look at some of this artwork and compare it to this 3D model, it does resemble quite a bit of it from DDI. It's something to do with the eyes and the area around them. It just seems very familiar with some reason. So I think that this model was likely made to try and create promotional material such as pin-ups and posters for the comic, as well as possibly some reference material for the various artists working on the comic at the time. So hopefully, if you guys out there watching this video share it and promote it, we can probably get a bit more information about this design at a later date, because I'd love to see more images of it and even learn a little bit more about why DDI created this Sonic in the first place. But if you'd like to see more, please check out Obscure Gamers, who are currently trying to restore the entirety of all the hard drives that they have in their possession, and they're also taking donations to help speed up the process. Definitely check them out if you are interested in finding out more information about DDI or any other obscure and cancelled video game, because according to former employees of DDI, they were also working on a Spyro the Dragon project. But I for one just really want to play that Wallace and Gromit karting game. A huge thank you goes out to both Jake LeBeau and Jason Hardington for bringing this to the world's attention. Please guys, share this video around on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, you know the deal by now, because it would be great if we could get some extra help towards Obscure Gamers so that they can get all this data off these hard drives, because it's really cool that we do actually have a chance to take a look at some obscure gaming development, even if it is from a company that became a little bit notorious in its later years. And who knows, maybe if we spread this video around and it gets enough attention, we might attract the attention of people that are actually responsible for this design, and we could probably learn a bit more about it, or even, dare I say, maybe the actual 3D model itself could be released, because like I said, yeah, the art style is a little bit strange and funny, but it's got a charm about it. I really like it. Anyway guys, if you found this video interesting, please don't forget to click that like button, hit the subscribe and the bell notification button, and please let me know what you think about DDI's Classic Sonic. Do you like it? Do you think it's weird and funny looking? Would you actually like to see it in a game or even a fan project? Because that would be something really interesting. And if you like the video and the work I do, please consider checking out my Patreon page. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye.